Okay. So I want to welcome you to Adobe Photoshop creating movie poster with Adobe Photoshop. So the first thing I'm going to ask you, have you used Photoshop before? Okay, so we have a step-by-step tutorial, but if you never used Photoshop before, we're gonna take a look, so we might not finish everything, but we are going to take a look at the user interface, how it looks. And I'm using for now Photoshop 2024. We had a new update this week, but I didn't update mine yet because I was afraid when you update it might crash. Which version do you have?
Maybe I downloaded last month.
Okay, that's okay. That's still the one I'm using right now, so that's all okay. So again, while we're using Photoshop, we're using it to create images, we're using it to adjust images, we're using it to compositing. So in this area, it is a fictional movie poster that I created. I called it the pilot, which maybe there's a movie like this, but everything is kind of like fictional over here. I even have a QR code that says in the column C's, everybody is a pilot. You can see here, or you can see in front of you a few versions that I created. The first version is from all the assets that I gave you. The second version, it's almost the same, but you can see the layout is a little bit different. And the third one, I wanted kind of like to practice the AI features that we have within Photoshop. So we have the artificial intelligence, and what I did is I clicked on and I entered a prompt and I wrote, and then I didn't like something or I liked something, but I wrote that. So that's where we're gonna go. The first thing, we're gonna look at the file now that we did, and then we'll see how we can build that. Since you did use Photoshop in the beginning already, so there's a lot of features over here that are kind of very important to Photoshop here. So within 2 hours to do the movie poster and to go with the features itself, there's not enough time. Highly recommend, if you are interested after this seminar using Photoshop in the spring, we are offering 10 weeks of Adobe Photoshop class for the certification. If you don't feel like taking the certification in the end, it's okay, but you're learning for 10 weeks the features of Photoshop, which is usually great. And usually we have it 6 to 8 on a Thursday or online on Fridays. And so take a look in the spring. Are you still gonna be here in the spring? You're not graduating yet, right?
First year.
Oh, first year, so wonderful. So take advantage on all the curriculum that we're offering over here. So what I did over here, and you can see you have the QR code. So if I go into my presentation, you see here, these are the topics that we're gonna do. We're gonna work with retouching, content aware, remove tool, selection, object, blending mode, layer masking. But you can see over here, I said step-by-step tutorial. So there is a link for the step-by-step tutorial. And if I'm clicking, this is the step-by-step tutorial. So if you don't do everything with me, or you can just watch me doing it today, I can see here, look at that. So movie poster that you have here, and then I have the stuff over here, and then you can see all the stuff that you have. It is basically all the stuff that we have here, kind of like step by step, including AI over here. So all the assets that we have, that's part of that. So were you able to download it, the files, if you, or you want to kind of watch me doing it? What, the files? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go in and launch Photoshop. And like I said before, it is going to be Photoshop 2024. And the reason I still have it as 2024 is because I wanted to kind of have it with the older version because I wasn't sure if it's very sturdy. So I'm in Photoshop right now, and then I'm going to go back here to the essential workspace. And the first time you open Photoshop, that's how it's going to look, but not with all the images that I have here. Do you see so many images that I have here? This is because I worked in Photoshop before. So if I want it to look like yours, I'm going to go to recent and then say clear the recent. And yours might look like that, right? Kind of empty, and nobody really used Photoshop here before. And then I'm going to go back here. You see, I have it here. So now let's look at the assets and the files that I gave you here. So if I'm going to look at the assets that I have, this is what we have. We have a screenshot that you saw on the screen. You do have the poster assets. So these are the files that I have. I do have a few JPEGs. I have some layered files already, and we might use the layered file today because it's going to make it a little easier. But when in real life, you don't get the layered file. In real life, you have to do everything. You have to go in and create the retouching. You have to go in and do all the component of everything. But I know that maybe some people are not going to be so familiar with Photoshop. So I basically created some stuff that it's really kind of like there for you already. But then they have the final poster and then the original. So I'm going to go to the final, and I'm just going to open that. And then I'm going to open it with Photoshop 2024. And you'll see in a minute it opens. So what do I have over here? It's basically what you saw in my PDF. And if I'm going to go to my layers panel, and we'll talk about it in a minute, I see here my variations. So I'm going to take off, and then let's just investigate the first one. So if you see the layers panel in your UI, if you don't see a layers panel, you're going to go to Window and bring the layers panel. Do you see the layers panel on your screen? So what do I have here in design 1? If I uncollapse the arrow over here, you basically see all the layers that I have. And I'm going to go from the beginning. You see the first one? And I'm holding down the Option key or Alt key if you're using Mac to turn off the other layer. So look how I started it. I started it for a certain size, but let's talk about the idea of creating a movie poster in real life. This one, because it's in a class situation, I made it a little smaller and different resolution, so it's not so high end. In real life, if you do a movie poster that maybe it's 30 by 40 inches, so you start the file maybe 8 by 10, or maybe 1200 pixel per inch, very high res. So later on, if you make it bigger, you can cut it down to 300 pixel per inch and have a movie poster. But I kind of did it pretend. So we're doing it in a different size already, so it doesn't take us so much memory. So let's look for a minute and see what's going on just in the layers panel. So do you see here, there's another layer. I turn on and look what I have here. I have another layer, this one called a smart object. And smart object, within them, you have other layers that you worked with already. It's not a group, it's a lot of layers together that I put the effects on it. Then you have the sky. And if I open the sky, you can see that I have adjustment on top of it. So these are non-destructive effect to create this poster. Then let's check out again, and then we see the airplane. So this one is a smart filter, and I put on it a certain filter that does color tones, something like that. You see, I can turn it on and off. I can also change the filter that I have. Then I have the pilot. I created the pilot from an image. I made a silhouette from it. And then the silhouette if I go back here to the silhouette and open it, if I click on it, it has a blending mode that it's soft light and the opacity is 100% over here. And then if I click on that, I can see that that's why it kind of like looks like it's on top of the airplane. And then what I did is I basically clicked and worked with type. So I have another type and another type, and I created kind of a mask with it. So kind of like this is the component we do, and then I did the pilot, and then I can't see every man is a pilot. I kind of like, it's a tagline. All the way down here, do you see the text? This is the billing. That's how they're calling. So in every movie, you can see who made it, who's the producer, and all the stuff here. And then if you zoom into it, you will see in a minute that basically it is different kind of names. Sometimes I even put my name over there, but that was an Adobe Illustrator file that we placed inside Photoshop. So really the component that we're doing today, we're using stuff that a little more advanced. It's not like beginning Photoshop. It's using the asset to work with the stuff. And like I said before, I'm using retouching and everything else. And then I created a different kind of version over here. And if I turn on everything, you can see, and then if I'm gonna go and turn on everything again, you can see that you can start seeing different one, but a different composition. So how do we start? Let's start together, and we're going to do it super slow. And maybe for today, we are going to use some of the images that I have ready for you, but I will show you some retouching tools, how to retouch some stuff and make it look a little bit better. So we're going to start right now. We're going to go to File and New. And I get a dialog box over here. And then I can give it a name. I'm going to call it Movie Poster. Like I said before, I'm making it Movie Poster. Like I said before, I am going to Movie Poster. Now I'm going to go into the area and I'm going to make it, instead of pixels, I'm going to go and do it inches right now. So I'm going to do it 10 inches by 8 inches. I'm sorry, the other way around, 8 inches by 10. This is basically 8 by 10, and then it's going to be 30 by 40, so we can go in. But I'm not going to do it 1200 pixel per inch because that's going to take forever. I'm just going to do it 200. And why did I do it 200? Because maybe I have images that are the same resolution for it. And then I'm going to click Create. So this is what I have right now. On the right side, if you never used Photoshop before, on the right side, you have the panels. On the left side, you have the toolbar. And I'm going to go to all the way up to the upper corner. You see tiny little arrows there. And I'm going to make the toolbar to 2 columns. And then I'm going to go in to Window, Workspace, and it is the Essential default. And I'm going to say Reset Essential. And I'm going to go and make it flip into icon so it doesn't take a lot of space. So you can make it as an expanded layer or just icon. You see that? And it's the tiny little arrows there. Every panel, you can take it in and out, and any time that you have. If I wanted to save this workspace, that's going to look exactly like this the whole time, I can go into Window, Workspace, and I'm going to say New Workspace. And I can call it Movie Poster to the workspace. It doesn't have any relationship to the file. It's just going to go and be just this workspace, I can work with it. So then if I miss some panels, I can also go back to the workspace. So it makes life a lot easier. So this is what I did over here. Now we're gonna need to save it. File and save as. You can save it to the cloud, or you can save it on your desktop. It gives you different kind of option. The good news about saving it sometime to the cloud, it saves it all the time. And then if you have another computer at home with the same membership, you can take it back and forth. And I just want to save it locally today. So each time I'm going to have to do Command S. Are you using Windows? So it Mac. So Command S to resave it. The first thing that we're going to do is we want to go in and fill the background with a gradient. So what does it mean, fill the background with a gradient? I'm going to go to the layers panel. And then I want to put on top of that a non-destructive gradient. What does it mean, a non-destructive gradient? Is a gradient colors from up and down that you can go again and again and change it. The colors can be your decision. You saw in my sample, I don't know why I went into browns, but I could have done it jazzed up and colorful with all kind of colors like any movie poster. So I'm going to go to my gradient panel and I'm going to bring it out for a minute. This is my regular gradient panel. I don't even know which gradient I want to use. I'm going to go into maybe the blues. And I'm going to take just a generic blue and bring it over and click on that. So look what you have. Already I dragged it over and I have it as a background. And it says gradient fill, and I'm going to call that background. So if you double click on your layer, you can rename it. And that's going to be my bottom gradient. But I don't like these colors, right? Or maybe I do. But what I'm doing is double clicking inside the gradient fill layer. And this is what opens the gradient editor. And I can click inside the editor, and here I can decide what colors I want to do. So if I click on the first stop, it tells you this is the color. I can click on the color that's selected in the stop all the way down. And this is my color picker, and I can decide on colors. I want to go into the browns. So I might go into certain browns over here and see how I want to work with. So you see, each time I click on something, you're already seeing some kind of a preview. But what if I want this color to be a certain brown? So I can go in and I'm going to go and make it RGB. I'm going to make it the R, let's say 99. And then let's say the green, I'm going to make it 78. And the blue, I'm going to make it 48. So look what I'm getting here, some kind of a brown. If I want to add this brown to my color swatches, I'm going to say add to swatches. I can also add it to my Creative Cloud library if I want. But now, if I want to save this gradient for later, what I can go back here, I can say new. And then if I click OK, I can decide where I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to say new, and I'm going to make it light brown. It's already a gradient. And I'm going to click OK. So look what I have. I have some kind of a gradient. But what if I want to fix it? Again, I'm going to go to the next one. Click on the white and change the gradient to a different color. I'm gonna make the art 165. I'm gonna make the green to 128. And I'm gonna make the blue to 84. Again, I just wanna make sure you understand colors are not obsolete. I decided on them. So if you decide either somebody gives you colors and you plug it in, let's say for a job, or you wanna create something absolutely based on whatever you want, you click on the colors, you can save them, and you have a gradient. So now I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna say new gradient, and in the custom area, I'm gonna call it brown from light to dark, or whatever you feel like naming it. And I'm gonna click OK. But now, what if I wanted to have it, see the dark one is all the way down and the light is up. I can go back to the angle and just move it around. And you see now the dark is up. So you can, it's called like non-destructive gradient. You can fix it and fix it and fix it and make it your own at any time that you have. So now I'm going to go back here, and this is the gradient that I have. And basically, I'm going to go back here and click OK. So that's kind of like my background. At any time, I can double click in this gradient area and change the color. Does that make sense? So again, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but I want you to understand that you can do your own colors, right? Anything that you want, that's the colors that you're going to work with. So the next thing that we want to do is basically we want to go and create some kind of retouching and bring some kind of another file into it. So I'm going to go into a file, and then I'm going to go into file menu bar, and then I'm going to go to place embedded, and that's going to place that as a layered file. And if I go into creating a movie poster, I can decide if I want to go into the movie poster asset and what do I want to go and put in there. Since we didn't use Photoshop before, I'm going to go in and double click on the layered files, and then we're going to play with it. And I'm going to click on Peer PSD. But then we're going to double click and see what we did, so you can learn how we did that. So we're kind of like doing it backwards, right? I'm going to click on that and click place. And this is what I get over here. And I'm going to put it all the way down and click done. So what do I have? I have a file named peer, but I already worked with it with a lot of stuff. So what I'm going to go and do here, I'm not going to save this one. I'm going to go, first of all, I want to save it. Command or Control S, I'm saving it. Why? Because I updated it. But let's talk for a minute. How did I create that? The original looked terrible. Let's look how the original looked. I have it inside here also. So do you see this layer that has a little symbol there? That's called a smart object layer. So smart objects are basically layers that retain the original image inside, and you can see the reverse engineering. So you can see what somebody else did. So if you double click on it, you double click on it the first time, if you didn't use it before, it will tell you, after editing the contents, choose File, Save to commit the changes. Those changes will be reflected upon returning to the movie poster PSD. So you can do a lot of changes and do Command S, and it jumps basically. So let's see, I click OK. So what do I have over here? Do you see I have a folder? I'm going to click on the folder and look what I have in there. I do have another smart object inside. So I basically did it 3 times. I'm going to double click on the other smart object and look what I have. And now I'm going to turn off some of the layers. So this is basically how the original maybe looked. And now I'm going to go to another rectangle, another and another, and look at this. It is working really great. It looks like a pier. If I do save and go back to the next one, I didn't do any changes. But what do I have in the next one? I have something called layer mask to make it kind of looking like it's fading into the background. If I hold on the shift key on the layer mask, I can turn on and off the mask. And then I have something called graphic span. So if I turn it off, it's not there. But if I double click on the graphic span, look what opens. Another area opens for the graphic span, and I can change it and make it more. Look at that. I'm making more. Look, on purpose, look at this. I'm making it darker. If I click OK and save it, Command S, and now going to my original, look what I have here. It's a lot darker than before. Does that make sense? So what did I do here? Let's just open one image for a minute. First of all, I'm going to save that. But before that, let's go in and open the original, not here. So I'm going to guide you through how to create some kind of retouching. We're not going to do it perfect, but we're going to look at it. So if you go to File and Open, and you go to the same area that we went, and we're going to the original files, I'm going to just click on Peer with Pilot. And look at this image. This is the image that I got. And this was basically the image that I took away the pilot. I mean, the guy. How did I take it away? With different kind of retouching tools. And I want to show you a new retouching tool that we have, that it is based on AI. I'm not sure you have it if you, I don't know, depending when you downloaded the stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new layer, a new empty layer on top, and I'm going to call it retouched. Empty layer on top. And I'm going to go to lasso tool, and where the lasso tool, I have something that, oh, that's not over here. I'm going to go into the area that I have object selection tool. And over here, I don't have the brush over here because this brush actually came in with the new stuff. So I don't have it at the moment. And it called, and I'm going to go in to find it in a different place. So I'm going to go in to the area that looks like a bandage. Do you see that? And it says spot healing. And then you have something called remove tool. I call that the J galleries. And this is a new retouching tool. Let me know if you see that. Yeah, I'm going to click on it. When I go all the way up to my option bar, I want to make sure I turn on sample all layers. I'm activating sample all layers. So really, my retouching gonna go to another layer. So depending on the size of the brush, on mine it is 6 now because maybe it is the last time that I use this brush. But I'm gonna go in and with this brush that I have, I'm gonna make it bigger. How can you make it bigger automatically? While you're on this tool, you go to your brackets on your keyboard, and the right bracket's gonna make the brush a little bigger, and the left bracket a little smaller. So now I'm looking at my brush, look at this, pretty big, and I'm gonna click around it. And look at that, didn't do a very good job. See? And that's, I mean, I'm kind of happy that it didn't do a great job right now to show you that this tool, not necessarily it is working every time that I have, but over here, I'm going to go and try to do it again and see if I can get rid of it. And now I can see it's not perfect, right? So if I want to get rid of it a little bit different, I did the beginning, and then I'm going to try again, and maybe it's going to do it. But again, it didn't really read it as perfect. It did some of the job. I can go back to peer with pilot. I'm going to go in to peer with pilot again. And this time, I'm going to go in and select just, and then the other one is still on, but with the lasso tool, I'm going to go and select the area that I didn't do anything to yet. And this one, now I'm going to go to edit and then content aware fill. And then all the way down here, I can see the effect. It didn't really work great for me right now, so I'm not going to use it. But what else do I have there? If I'm going to go to edit, I have generative fill. And then if I don't put anything in there, maybe it's going to generate an empty area for me. And then you can see here the samples. So basically you work with different kind of retouching tool, step by step, to get rid of the guy that you have there. So you can work with different tools, or you can also duplicate the image. It didn't do anything over here, but I'm duplicating the image. And then I'm going to select the duplication and go edit, fill, and then I'm going to go in and say content aware. And once again, in the content aware, look what I got here. It just shows me if I get different kind of things, and then option delete, and then content aware, and I can start working. So again, you can start deleting and deleting and deleting the stuff. So when I go to the area over here, this is what I did. See, I have one here, and I have a different one and a different one. And in each area, I actually went in and played with it. Over here, I added a filter to it. So now I'm going to make the filter a little less and not as strong. And if I save it and I'm going back to my original, this is what I have. Does that make sense? So now, I went into the retouching tools. If you want to read about it, if I'm going to go back here to the retouching tool, over here, you can see step by step how it was retouched. So you can always go back to it, and you have within the area of the PDF a step by step how to create that, because you have a small tutorial in there the way we did that. So now I'm going to go back to Photoshop. What do you don't like over here? What doesn't look so great? Maybe it is a hard line. Do you want to go and make it kind of smoother? So that will be in Photoshop something called a layer mask. What a layer mask is doing is revealing or concealing an area with black, white, and transition of grayscale, but it is non-destructive. You can change it the whole time. Because if I made it directly here and just made it smooth directly on that, and then you change your mind, it's not going to be good, right? So what am I doing right now? I'm going to click on the peer, and I want to load the selection of the peer. What does it mean, a selection? Because it is a layer, there is a selection that carries with it. In order for me to load the selection, I'm on the word peer. I'm going to go to select menu bar and say load selection. And then I get a dialog box here and it says peer transparency. I'm going to click OK and look what I get. This is the layer that I just brought in. So the way it works with Photoshop, once you have a layer, it basically has a hidden selection around it. That's how they float around in the layer. If I didn't want to go to select load selection, I'm going to do Command D to deselect. I can hold down my Command key and simply click on the thumbnail of the layer. One hand will hold down the Command key, one finger, and the other one is going to do one click. And look at this, I loaded the selection. This is a great shortcut to load selections in Photoshop. Command click on a thumbnail of a layer, a thumbnail of an adjustment layer, a thumbnail of an effect will load the selection. So now what do I want to do? I want to do a transition. So I'm going to go to my gradient panel. The last time I used the gradient panel had different kind of colors maybe. So I'm going to click inside and then I'm going to go to basic. And I'm going to tell the machine, I want to have it from black and white. So you see it from, I have the three kind of gradient in the basic. Foreground to background, foreground to transparent, and black to white. I'm going to go to black to white and click OK. And now I want to go all the way up in the control and make sure it is a classic gradient, not a regular gradient. And look what I'm doing. If it is a linear gradient, I'm going to click and I'm going to go back here. And now I want to go in and create a mask. So I'm going to go back here and go in to create a layer mask. Where do I do that? I can go to layer and layer mask and reveal selection. So you can see now that I have a layer mask. And now with the gradient, I can go in and do that. And look what happens. You see how cool it is? I have a transition. If you want to see your layer mask, hold on the Option key and click on the thumbnail. That will tell you the story. Black will conceal what you have underneath, and that's why I don't see anything. The gradation over here of the grayscale will do a gradation of kind of like grayscale, and whatever is white is revealing. So white is revealing, black is covering. If I go back to the image, that's how I see, look at this, a smooth area. Can I change it? Absolutely. I can go to this area and I can do stuff like that. See, I did something else. I can do stuff like this. Or I can again make nice and that's it's looking better. And that's what I meant, that it's non-destructive. You can always turn it off by holding down the Shift key and say, I didn't do anything. You see that? Now it looks like before. So holding down the Shift key again and turn it on again. So we're going to play a little bit with layer mask in this poster, but now it's already looking kind of good. What shall we do now? We save. Command S will save it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and go back here to the area here. Oops, sorry. I clicked on a different tab by mistake. I want to place another image. And this time we're going to create all the stuff for this image. So I'm going to do File and Place Embedded. And we're not gonna go into the completed file. We're gonna go to the original files. And we're gonna click Sky PSD. And you can see, and I'm gonna put it all the way up. And in order for me to make sure that I placed it, I'm gonna click done and it's all good. So I have the sky. Once again, let's check it out. Do we like the sky like this? Or do we want the sky to look a little bit different? So what should we do at this moment? So the first thing that we're going to do with the sky, we are going to go in, place the sky. We already go in and place the sky over here. And then we are going to go in and create a mask over here. So I'm going to go into the sky, and you can add a layer mask from the menu bar on the top under the word layer and say layer mask, or you simply can go in all the way down at the bottom of the layers panel. You see I have different kind of icons. One before the last, you see it says layer mask. And right now it's really great in the new Photoshop. You see it tells you like a little movie about it. So if you don't remember what it is, you can click on the movie and they will re-explain to you what it is. And that's what we like. And it tells you, a layer mask allows you to hide part of your image and then bring them back anytime. So again, it's exactly what we did before. We're hiding partial way. Is that has to be always with a gradient? Absolutely not. You can use a brush to hide part of the stuff. You can use a filter to hide. Does that make sense? So let's add a layer mask. I'm going to go in to the bottom of my layer and click one time on layer mask. In this case, I got an empty layer mask. Now I'm going to see what's going on in my, as soon as I'm on it, on the layer mask, look at the colors that you have in your tools panel. Let me know what you have. What colors do you see there? Black and white, right? The foreground is black, the background is white. Why is it? Because masking is black, white, and transition of gray. Look at it and don't do it, but look at what I'm doing. I'm double clicking on that color. Let's say I'm choosing red, right? You see red? Look what it is in terms of colors. The red is actually a dark gray. So masking does not have real colors. All the colors are represent the gamut of grayscale, from white to black and transitions of gray. Does that make sense? If I wanted it to be back to default black and white, I'm going to click on the letter D. And then I'm going to go click on the letter X. I'm going to make the foreground black and the background white. Back to my gradient. Make sure classic gradient is on, and look what I'm doing. So you see I have a transition, and you can do the transition in different ways. And this time is in linear gradient. And I went from up and down, and look at that. Part of the sky got some colors over here, and part of the sky has a transition. Does that make sense so far? So you can see already I have a different kind of stuff. Well, what if I wanted to change the sky and make it a little darker or a little lighter or make something to it? So look what we're going to do. We are on the sky layer. What does it mean? I'm targeting the sky layer. Do you see my layers panel? I'm on the sky layer. Now I want to make a non-destructive adjustment, meaning an adjustment layer. What adjustment layer? They go on top of a layer and they're gonna change the adjustment of the layer itself. So where are they? The adjustment layer can be in different places. You have adjustment panel, and you can see over here, single adjustment. And then all the way down, you can also add preset of adjustment. We're gonna look at single adjustment. And what do we have here? Brightness and contrast and level and curves and exposure or everything. By default, these adjustments are global adjustment. If you don't tell them where to go, just go from the top and all the way down. But you can tell them where to go, or you can get the mask and tell them what to cover or not. So I'm gonna go and click on brightness and contrast. And I get the property and I'm going to go in and play and make it a little brighter and then change a little bit the contrast. But look what happened when I did that. It did it to the entire image. I don't want it to do to the entire image. I wanted it to do it just to the sky. In this case, I'm gonna hold on the Option key, click on the mask, and drag it over to the other layer mask, because adjustment come with the layer mask. And it's gonna ask you, do I want to replace? And I say yes. And look what happened. It's just doing the sky. Does that make sense? So now whatever I'm going to do and double click on the brightness and contrast, let's say I'm going to do something like that, you see just doing the sky. And that's why I called it non-destructive. You can add another adjustment. Let's say I'm going to go in and do vibrance. I'm going to go in and change the vibrance a little bit. And you see right away, it does it to everybody. But if I go into the mask, Option click and drag it over, I basically can copy and mask from one place to another. And I think my vibrance was too much, so I'm gonna make it a little less. And look what I have, vibrance and stuff here. So now I have different changes and they're really non-destructive. Why are they non-destructive? Look what I'm doing. I can hold on the Shift key and turn off the mask and turn off these guys over here, off and off, and look at the sky. That's the original sky that you had before. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna change a little bit the brightness. And then I'm gonna double click on the vibrant and I'm gonna make it a little bit more vibrant. And of course, saving. So to keep my files really organized, what do you think I should do? What makes stuff organized? You put it in drawers, right? Or folders. We're gonna group it. So I can select the sky, hold on the Shift key and select the brightness and the vibrance. You see the three of them are selected. I'm gonna go to Layer, Group Layer, going to the Layer menu bar. Group Layers has a shortcut, Command G. You kind of want to remember it because it is going to group selected layer into a group. And I don't have a name for it, so I'll double click on the word group and I'm gonna call it sky. So you see how I organize it, a whole thing here. I have the peer, I have the background, and I have another bottom background, which I don't even need anymore. So I have a regular background, I have a peer, and I have a sky. Does that make sense? And if I'm zooming out a little bit, you can see the stuff. And then look at this. I have a beginning of a nice kind of background. I'm saving my file. Why am I saving the file? Because if you don't save the file, and you start working with layers, you are not going to have it if you're not going to work with that. Does that make sense? So now I want to look at putting more elements in there. And we're going to put some elements, and then we're going to make another artboard and then work maybe with AI. Because I can go in now in AI and say that I want to have a picture of an airplane. But I do have a picture of an airplane already that I basically found it online and isolated it. We're going to go to File and Place Embedded. I'm going to go to my original, and I'm going to go to the layered file this time, and I'm going to click on Plain Final PSD. And I'm going to place it. And look what I have over here. I'm going to click OK, and you're going to tell me, your plane looks really weird. Why? I don't know how yours look, but why is mine looking so weird? Let's check it out. The last time I was on my layers panel, I was checking out the background. So I still stayed on the background. So look what it went between the background and the pier. I'm going to click on it and put it all the way up. So look at the plane right now. Do you see that? You see the difference? So really, when you place images in Photoshop, they're going to go directly to the place you are there right now. What do we want to do with it now? I'm going to go into my layer move tool in my toolbar. It's the first one. Look at the tool, move tool. And it says move the selection or layer. I'm going to click on it and move it around. Now I want to kind of like turn it around a little bit. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go to free transform. I don't want to make it smaller, but I want to go and transform it. So I'm going to go in and just do stuff like that. Or if I want to make it a little bit bigger, I can. And I'm going to go in and stretch it. Not so great, but we're not going to see actually big kind of like stuff. So look at this. I just stretched it a little bit and click done. So what do I want to go and do with the stuff right now? I want to add to it maybe a effect, and then I want to go in and create some kind of effect to it and play with opacity. So the first thing you want to look is it says plain final. Why? Because that's how I saved it, right? So what do I want to do? It is a smart object. When it is a smart object, it's also a smart filter. And I know it's a lot for you to comprehend now because it's more advanced right now because we are compositing and you never really opened Photoshop before. So you're kind of following me, but later on, read the tutorial and see how you can start understanding it a little bit more. What do I want to do here? I want to add a filter, but I want to add a non-destructive filter again. What does it mean? Adding a non-destructive filter is adding a filter that you can go back and forth and fix it. And you know what somebody else used, so you're going to see the filter. So I'm going to go to filter menu bar. And over here, I'm going to go back here to different areas. So let's say I'm going to go in and I'm looking at the one that I want to choose. I'm going to go into, let's say, which filter I want to go to. I'm going to go into pixelate, and I'm going to use maybe halftone. That's a very weird filter, but we're going to go in and leave kind of like the default. I have no idea what it does yet. I'm going to click OK. And this is the half-tone filter that I have over here. It didn't really do anything to it. So I might go back here and change it to 12 and then click OK. And I'm zooming into it and I can see that I have tiny little dots on it. While I have it over here, I'm going to go to my blending modes on top of the layers panel, and I'm going to set the blending mode to overlay. And you can see that it's a lot lighter. And I'm going to take down the opacity here to something like anything between 25 or 30. So look what you have here. You have kind of a plane, but it's kind of very kind of like in between there. And then the plane is really going to go between and shows you a little bit the clouds that you have here. I might even go and make it even lighter. That's up to you. Just give it so you know it's something about a pilot. And I'm saving. The next thing is working with a silhouette. So what does it mean working with a silhouette? We actually can go in and look at some selection tools that we have. So we're going to go and place. Let me know if you're with me. So we're going to go to File and Place Embedded. This time, I want you to go to the original files and click on Pilot Image and place him. And look at that. Where did I find this pilot? I found him online. It's kind of looking kind of funny, right? But I'm going to click Done. What do I don't like over here with it? I really don't like that he has a white background, right? What is the easiest way for us to isolate him and make him look like he is basically on a layer? I'm going to go to my layers panel, and then I'm going to go back to my properties. And then you're going to see in the properties, it says edit content, convert to link, or convert to layer. Because the way I wanted to talk to you how to do it, I want to use something that it doesn't work with a smart object. So I'm going to say convert to layer. Once I have convert to layer on, I'm going to say remove background in the properties panel. And look what happened right now. Not that bad, right? I went on here and I see the guy here, and look at this, with the layer mask on and off, the machine isolated it for me. But you have to make sure it's not a smart object. I can go and make it into a smart object later, but for now, it's not a smart object. And now I have different ways of doing it. Usually I make from it a shape. Since you never worked with Photoshop before, we're going to make it a little shorter today. And we're going to make a selection and basically go in and create different kind of colors there. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go in and add a fill layer on top of it. So how do I add a fill layer? I'm going to go into my layer menu bar, new fill layer. I'm going to say solid color. But when I have the solid color, I can decide that I want to use the previous layer to create a clipping, meaning it's just going to fill the pilot, not everything else. Because if I don't do that, and I'm going to watch my screen for a minute. What if I don't click and activate use previous? And then I'm going to click OK. Look at this. You see what it did? So I'm going to cancel that. And then I'm going to go in and say, I'm going to go back here. And then I'm going to go into layer, a new fill layer. And I said, just do it to the guy over here. And then I'm going to click OK. That was the last color that I had, but I don't want this color. Maybe I want to fill it with black. Look at this. Maybe I want to fill him with white. And now when I filled him with white, it's basically a silhouette. Does that make sense? So if I filled it like this, now it is okay. And now what I want to do, I want to make it a little smaller. I also want to go in and make a transition so I don't see a really white pilot like this. So what shall I do? I'm going to go to the pilot original image, hold on the shift key and go to the color fill. And this time I'm going to make that into a smart object. And the reason I'm making it into a smart object, that the original size will stay as is. So if I go back and forth later, I don't lose pixels. So where do you use make it into a smart object? You can go always to the menu bar on the layer, or go to the layers panel, go to the side option bar, and go back here and say convert to smart object. And look what happened here. And I'm going to double click and call it pilot. Now, I want to make it smaller. I'm going to go to edit, free transform. And I'm going to make it a little smaller. And by default, Photoshop maintains the aspect ratio. So I'm going to put it somewhere here in the center and click done. Because I made it into a smart object, I really can go back and forth and make it bigger and smaller. But now I'm going to go into my blending mode, and maybe I'm going to go in overlay. I could do overlay. I can do darken, or I can leave it as is, but just change the opacity maybe to something like 18 or 20, and look what I have there. I have a silhouette of a pilot. But what do I don't like in here? That the bottom of the silhouette is very sharp. And again, all the stuff that I'm showing you, you can do it absolutely different. It's just a thought, right? We're going to recreate something a little bit later, and we're going to do it a little bit later. So now I'm going to my opening all the way down a layer mask, going to my gradient, make sure the gradient is basic from foreground to background, because I have black and white, and I can do stuff like that. And look at this. And now it is making a transition. And you can see the pilot, and you can see also the airplane, and you can play with the stuff and see if this is how you want to go. If you want the airplane on top of it, you can do that too. And save. So you can see we're starting, it's basically what we're doing. We are compositing something. Does that make sense? Could be different assets, could be different things, but we kind of like working with some kind of compositing the object and using different kind of tools for it. What else do you want? So this is the pilot, and this is the final plane. What else do I want to go and do over here? I want to go in and create and show some stuff that's going, or maybe even type something. And that's going to be the title. So this brings us to working with type in Photoshop. So I have the type tool all the way down in the toolbar. And I can basically click somewhere on the screen, and I really want to do it somewhere around here, next to the peer. So I'm going to click one time and look at my typeface. My typeface is called Brushberry. Why is it? Because that's probably the last one that I used. I can go to any kind of typeface that I want. I can highlight that. And really what I want to do is, in all lower caps, I'm going to go and type the word "the." But now I don't want this typeface. I'm going to highlight. And now you can look for typefaces. So different typefaces that you have in your system, that's going to go in and create something. I'm going to use something really, really simple. I don't know which one you have in your system. They're going to be all Creative Cloud fonts. So I'm going to call it and start clicking with TR, and then it says Tarajan Color Concept, Tarajan Pro Semi Bold, Tarajan Pro 3 Bold, Tarajan Pro Black, Regular. I'm going to go in to the Tarajan Pro, let's say, Semi Bold. And I'm not sure you have it. You can do any typeface. And look at that right away. When I went in and even did it as lowercase, Tarajan is a bold, all caps typeface. But if I wanted to do something else, and maybe it's good to touch something else, maybe I want to go in and just do, let's say, I'm just going to do Myriad. And Myriad is actually the default typeface for Photoshop. So I'm going to go in and do Myriad regular. So look at that. It still stayed lowercase. And now if I wanted it to be uppercase, I typed it like this, but now I go all the way down here to the properties and tell that to be uppercase. So look at that. It says the word "the." Does that make sense? And then when I highlight it, I'm going to click in the properties and I'm going to make it white. So I can change the typeface. And it says "they." What if I wanted it to be a different typeface? I'm going to highlight. Myriad has regular, Myriad has condensed. Maybe I'm going to go in and make that bold. So you see the word "they." And the size is going to be any size that you want, but you can go in, and while you have it, I can go into the properties and change the tracking, meaning change the space between the characters. So you see it's kind of wider. So this is kind of typography 101, you know, like you can change the tracking and the kerning and everything. I'm going to click done. And now I want to click again on the screen, but I don't want it to be the same string. So I'm going to click again, and then I'm going to type pilot. And now it remembers that it's all caps. I'm going to highlight that. It remembers that it's Myriad, and I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Whatever size you want to make it, maybe I'm making it like 80 or 90. And then I'm going to go in and bring it over. And once I have that, I can go again and change the tracking. So I'm going to change the space between that. So the pilot's going to look like that's too much maybe for this typeface, but something like this. Depending on the typeface that you're going to use, That's how it is going to work. And I'm gonna go in and move it here. So I did it to separate one on purpose, but now I'm gonna go in and select the two of them, layer and group layers, and call it title. And now I'm gonna type title in the layers panel. And I wanna add an effect. So I double click on the group layer and look what it opens for me, the effect panel, and I can go in and do it. I'm gonna go back here and create some kind of a drop shadow. I can create the distance a little bit. I can add the spreading and I can add the size. And basically what you have here is a nice, if I zoom into it, it looks like that. I don't like this typeface that I used right now. Originally, I used Tarajian Pro. Looks a little more elegant, but for the sakes of that, I'm okay. But I can also go back to my layer, select it again, and make that a little bit bigger. And then make that a little wider. It's really depending how do you want to go in and work with the stuff. And then you can go and move it around. And I can go in and just select the word pilot and basically do stuff like this. It's really depending on your design. You see the word they is very tiny and the pilot is big because that's what's important. And of course, I can go in and add a tagline. So I can decide to add any kind of tagline that I want. Not every time you have some kind of a tagline, but if I wanted to add a tagline, I can decide where do I want to. You can add it all the way up. You can have it all the way down. Does that make sense? So if I'm going to go into my tagline right now, maybe I want to go in and click one time and click all the way here. And look what it does. It remembers exactly the typeface that you did. And then we're going to go back here and look at the tagline that we have. And that's where we're going to go in and see the stuff. So I'm going to check out the tagline that I wrote before. And then I'm just going to go back here. And then I called it in the calm sea, in a calm sea, every man is a pilot. I took it from somewhere, right? I'm going to go back here to Photoshop and then highlight the whole thing and really make it a lot smaller. And then what I'm going to do is go into a different kind of typeface. And then I'm going to say in a calm sea, every man is a pilot. And then you can see over here, I chose kind of a typeface, but you see that I have some kind of a drop shadow. If I don't want a drop shadow, I'm going to take it out. And now it is going to go in and be on this area here and just take that. I don't like this typeface. So I'm just going to go and click on that, select all, and maybe I don't want to have that as all caps. Maybe I want to go back here and have that as a dark brown. And then you can see over here, I have it over here, and I can put it somewhere here as a tagline. The tagline is something that you make a decision how to work with it and what do you want to go in. And sometimes you don't have a tagline. It's really depending. And then I might kind of call it tagline, but you can see it is on top. And this is what you have here. In a calm sea, every man is a pilot. I might even go in and do stuff that looks like this. In a calm sea, shift return. And look at that. I can have it something that looks like that with two columns over here. So depending where you put it in, that's how it is going to look. Does that make sense? And the last thing that we're going to do here, and it's all part of the text, but this title has an effect, so I didn't want to put it in the same layer. This is on top of it. So now we want to go in and put the glasses in there. We're going to put the ready-made one. So what I took is aviator glasses, and then I selected that. So what it means that we're going to go to File and Place Embedded. And we're going to go into our layered files, and I'm going to click on Final Glasses. And these are my final glasses over here. And I'm going to put it kind of like over here. And I want to put stuff inside these final glasses. And I want to put stuff inside the glasses themselves, or I can put it kind of by selecting just the lenses. So it's up to us how we're going to work with it. So if I just want to select the lenses, I'm going to go in maybe to my lasso tool. And you see underneath the lasso tool, on top of it, there is something that says selection brush tool. Do you see that? There is a new brush tool. Do you have it? And then this is a tool that when you go with any kind of brush, you basically going in to this selection brush tool, and then you can draw inside with any color. And sometimes you don't even need to do the entire thing. Look what I'm doing. I'm just selecting around it and finishing, and it is going to finish the whole stuff. But if you don't want to use that, because sometimes it is hard with a trackpad, I can actually go in to my magic wand and select the inside of the glasses. And you see, that takes a moment. So we're not going to go on doing with this. We're just going to select, just leave the glasses as is. What we're going to do here is basically we're going to go into another selection tool, which is the polygonal lasso tool. And then in the polygonal lasso tool, look what I'm doing. I'm just marking the inside of the lens. And again, we're not going to make a perfect selection right now, but you can see that I'm going to do just the inside of the lens and clicking. So look what I have. I have something over here, like I selected it, but I want it to be smoother. So once I go in and make it smoother, I'm going to go in and go to the word select and mask. And this is what I have. Look how bad, right? It's like click, click. So all the way I'm going to smooth it. And I might even feather it. So if I smoothing it more and feathering more, I have kind of soft edges. And I have a selection over there. Now what I want to do is I want to go into select another one like that and put it there. So if I want to do the other lens, I'm going to go into the same tool, but I'm going to say add to selection all the way up. Because if I start a regular selection, this selection is going to disappear. And I'm going to do the other side. And I actually should have done select and mask for both of them, not one by one, but it's my mistake. But again, I'm just going through the mechanics of selection. Select and mask, you can see now it's going to do the two of them, which is not going to be great because it's going to do one and then going to be the other one. But it's okay. Now look at this. They're wonderful. I like it like this. They're very blurry. Click OK. What do I want to do with it? We have to be now, I want to paste inside something. I'm going to say File and Open. And I'm going to go in and in the original file, open the sky. While I'm here, I'm going to go, okay, I'm just going to open the sky. I'm going to go into select menu bar, select all, edit and copy. I'm going to go back to my file, edit, paste special, paste into. And look what I'm getting. I'm basically getting the sky inside the glasses. Does that make sense? Really what I want to do, I do not want to have blue skies inside. So it is over here. It says layer 1. I'm going to call it sky 2. I'm going to hold on the command key and click on the thumbnail of the glasses. And look what I have. I'm loading the selection. And now I'm going to an adjustment layer. I can go from the adjustment panel. I can also go all the way down to the bottom of my layers panel. And I'm going to say hue and saturation. I'm going to click colorize and maybe colorize it to kind of like brown looking. So do you see what I have inside? Now I have brown skies. Why? Because I worked with the browns right now. I'm all good, but I want to put inside also other stuff. So I can go in and clip other people in there. Tell them, go in, go in, go in. How would I do that? File and place embedded. I'm going to go back to my layered files. I'm going to go in and place the silhouette pilot, PSD. Very big. I'm going to make that a little smaller. Click OK. And while I have him here, I'm basically going to clip him inside. Hold on the Option key and clipping inside the glasses. And if I want to make him a little smaller, you can see it's still inside. You see that? It's clipped inside the lens. It can be on this one too. Option click will clip him inside the lens. I'm going to do the same, file and place embedded, and I'm going to do with the plane. And I have the plane over here, and depending how I want it, I'm going to click over here, click done, hold down the Option key and clip. And then if I'm going to go back here and go to the move tool, I'm going to go in and move it around and look what I have. I have actually the plane inside. Does that make sense? So depending what you do, that's called a clipping mask. And then you're going to go in and clip the asset inside the area. If I want to make him a little smaller, I'm going to make the plane a little smaller so I can see part of it. So this is kind, and if I, now the thing is, you're going to tell me, what if I want to move the glasses, the sky in there? So look what I'm doing. This is the glasses. I want to make sure the paste into is linked. Hold on the shift key. Layer, group layers, and then I'm going to call that glasses. And now I can move them together as one, but you have to be careful because if you're not careful with that, it is going to move it one by one. Does that make sense? And I'm saving. The last thing is basically bring the billing. So what does it mean, the billing? That somebody wrote, who did that? We can place it from Illustrator. File and place embedded. And I'm gonna go back here and you see movie credit. And then I'm gonna go back here and put it in there and make it a little bit bigger and put it somewhere else. So by default, it's actually whoever did it, it's black. So what are my options over here? One option is to double click on it and you will open in Illustrator and I'm gonna change everything. The other option is basically add a white fill to it and some other stuff. So what does it mean? I can go back here and add some kind of effect to it. So I'm going to go in and go back here and say new solid color. And I'm going to make it white. And this time I'm going to option click it to the text. And look what I have. Now the text is just white. If I want to have effects to it, I can double click. I can add a drop shadow to it if I want. I can add an inner glow. I can go an inner shadow. And whenever I'm doing, I can still go to Illustrator later. And this is what I have. So I'm saving it. So let's look at what we can do with it in terms of artboard. And maybe we're not going to do all of them. Maybe we're just going to do one artboard. So I'm going to go back here. Everything is in there. Nothing is locked. I made a point to go back here and movie credit. Everything is kind of together as a group. I'm going to go to the artboard tool. And I'm going to click and drag a marquee around it. And it says Outboard 1. I can double click on it and call it Original Design. Maybe somebody will say, well, okay, we like the original design. But what if I want to change the original design, maybe a different typeface, or maybe change a little bit the hierarchy? So I'm holding down the Option key and doing another copy. And the other copy is going to be title with another typeface. And I'm going to hold on the Option key again. And the next one is going to be Pilot AI. I'm going to play with it. So basically what I can do now, I can go into the first one and I can collapse it. I don't want to change it. I don't want to change now the Pilot AI. I just want to go and change this one. So maybe I want to go into this one and go to the glasses and move the glasses here. And then maybe go to the pilot and put it here. And maybe go to the text and put it underneath and put that here. See, that's a kind of like a different look a little bit, but that's okay. I might even go in and do the tagline a little bit different or whatever I want to do. And I can even change the typeface. You can see it looks different. And you can do any changes. You can even change colors. You can do whatever you want. You can decide here that you want to go into the background fill. And in this case, you didn't want to make it brown. You make that like light. And then just click OK and click OK. And look what I have here. You see, it's a lot lighter over there. And maybe I don't want to have the big pilot over here. So I'm just going to take him. I'm going to go back here. And then I'm going to go in and take the pilot out. So you can see here, And maybe we're going to highlight the tagline, and I'm going to go back here to the tagline and go to the type and change the stuff with the tagline and do a different kind of type over there. But I'm going to go back here. And then I didn't want to go into the stuff. I have to find the title that I have because I have a different kind of text. So I'm going to go back here and just highlight. See, I'm going to go different typeface. Maybe I want to make it white. Maybe I'm going to go back here and just go back. Oops, sorry. You see, I can play whatever it is and look at the tagline over here, a different one. And again, I'm going to save it. So it saves all of the artboards that I have. So what I'm really interested now is really looking at the last one because we're going to go and do a little AI over here. What if I kind of didn't want to go in and have anything with glasses? And I didn't want to have the pilot. And maybe in the column C, I'm going to go have it down here and highlight it and make that white. Wonderful. And I'm going to go back here and click the pilot. And go back here. So now I want to go in and put another thing. So how would I do it now? So in this version, if you go to the toolbar, do you see all the way down, it says generate image. I'm going to click here and in generate image, I have different kind of images, right? But let's click and then what kind of pilot we want to do, a woman, a man. So I'm going to say woman. So a pilot, a woman pilot. I'm just doing very simple. I can do art or I can do photo. And I'm doing generate. You might get some weird stuff depending how it looks, right? And I'm waiting to see what I'm getting right now. Again, it's for inspiration. You don't want to use it like that. Look what I got here. And all the way down over here, this is what I'm getting. I'm going to zoom out. And I'm getting here one. I'm getting another one over here. And I'm getting like a woman here. That looks not bad, right? If I turn it off. And this is kind of like the pilot that I have, but this one is all the way here. So what I'm going to do right now, I basically going to, depending which one you want to do, but if I don't like it, I'm going to regenerate. I'm going to regenerate and look what I'm getting. Maybe I want this one. Maybe I want this one. Look at that. You're looking like the other one, right? A little bit. Or maybe I want that one. Or maybe I will do this. So what I have on this one over here, I can basically go to go back here and then actually select that and make that into the pilot without the background that I have. So I'm going to go back here and then I'm going to do Command T. I'm going to go back here. And then I'm going to go back here and put it all smaller here. And I'm going to go back here and move it over. And enter. And then this one, I have it here. And I'm going and putting it here. I mean, not sure I like her, but this is what I have. If I like to have that, I might go back here and depending how, I'm still can go back here and I say, okay, I want this one. No, I don't like, maybe this one. I don't know. Which one shall we use or none? This one? This one? Okay, so now what I can do is I can actually go into my object selection tool and then go back here and select that. And if it is a case selection, I can go back here now to not generative fill. I'm going to go back here all the way down here and I'm going to go to select and mask. And then in select and mask, I can fix the selection a little bit if I want. And then I'm going to bring that as a layer mask. And look what I have here. I have her over here without her background. So now what shall I do with it? Once I have her here, it is AI pilot over here. I'm going to go in and group it. And then add to the group over here. And then go in and add a layer mask. And to the group, I'm just going to go in and create something that looks like that. So you see now, she's there. And then I can put it here. And it looks a little bit different. Does that make sense? So, and I can play with it and do different kind of things. And I can go in and zoom out to see what I get. If I wanted to go to her and make her a little bit bigger, I can go in and select her and make her a little bit bigger. And go back here and put her here. So what do I get right now? I basically have 3 variation. And I can send it to somebody to fix it and do stuff with it. And then they can write comments for you or all kind of stuff. But you also, how will you send it to them? Maybe they don't have Photoshop. And so I'm going to go to File. And I'm going to go to Export. And I'm going to go in Outboards to a PDF. And over here, I'm going to do it on the desktop. And then I'm going to do Movie Poster. And then it's calling you include everything that you want to have, include the background export, multi-document. Do you want to have maybe for now the name of the artboard or not? Because they can tell you which one to fix. So if I want to have the name of the artboard, I can just run it out. And it's making a PDF for me. And now it says, okay, I'm going to go and check it out. I have it on my desktop. And this is my PDF. And then if I'm going to go back here to a full screen, you see the reason I have the white background around because I told it to include it. If I just wanted to print it, I don't include that. But you can call me and say, you know, the Pilot AI doesn't really look good. Can you change the typeface? Can you do a different image? And also she's all the way up to the edge. We have kind of like, we're afraid we're going to cut her out or something like this. But you can tell her, say, look at this one. In the ComC, you see the Pilot? It's not good. It's to the edge. It's also not going to print so good. So that's kind of like how you're going to go in and play with it. So with that said, I'm going to go back to my original that I did before. So I'm going to go into reset and then I'm going to go to my original. So what do I have in this one? Look what I have here. And then I'm going to, you see the typeface is a little bit different. So it's a little more elegant. You see everything like we did over here. You see the Pilot over here and the everything. But look at this one. What if I wanted to change her now? I'm going to go to the last one. I'm going to look at my layers panel. That's the other Pilot. And I'm gonna go in and look at the pilot over here and see what I have here with the text over here. And then I'm going to go in and look at this. This is different kind of pilot. And depending what I did with it, I probably went in already and changed that. But look at this. These are all the stuff that I tried. I'm just showing you that I did a lot of trials over here. And that was like a cartoon pilot, right? And then I have, that's the one I am, but I have this one, almost look like the other one before. I have this one. I have that one. I have that one, this one here, and this one here. So different kind of pilots that I tried, and I ended up using the one that I kind of wanted to go. I actually created it and made it into a layer already. So that's why it's not AI anymore. But if I left it as I can go and change it. So every time you change something as an I, you can go back here. See, this one is AI stuff over here. I made that into a smart object, but you can see here, this is how I played with her. And that's why I end up working with her. But everything that it is AI, it's still going to go in and work with the stuff that you have. So if I have this one here as a movie poster, and then I have she's still AI. So I can go back here and look at that. Maybe it looks a little bit different because I already made a mask there. But if I didn't have the mask, I can go into different ones and look at that. I still have I still have the AI over there. And I can also regenerate. Does that make sense? So if I don't like that, I can go back here and then I can say, oh, you know what? Let me generate that into art. And it's gonna look something really silly probably now, like the cartoons. Because some of the art will do some cartoons. So if you did like a movie poster for kids, maybe you want to start from there. No, that's not bad over here. Didn't do as cartoony, but I'm gonna go back here and start making Art Nouveau and maybe Cubism and generate it, and I can play with it. Then you can make it into a layer and start selecting. So really what I'm trying to tell you here, that the AI is a beginning tool for you. Look at this. That's inspiration, but maybe you don't want it to be exactly like that. Then you can take that and start changing colors, changing stuff, and then playing with it. Or maybe this is the one that you wanted to do a movie poster that looks like this, right? So you can see here, I can go and play with it. I can also go back here and add, let's say, in the layer, I'm going to go in, make an adjustment, maybe make a hue and saturation. And then if I go in and do that, look what I have. So who knows? Maybe you like something that looks like this. So kind of gives you, inspires the stuff like what kind of style do you want to work with? We started with one style and we went to another style. And you can make a set of artboards and everything that you have. Does that make sense? Any questions? I know it is fast, and I know we went through the topics pretty fast, but because you never used Photoshop before, but if you use Photoshop before, you'll find it kind of like working with composition. Again, I highly recommend, if I'm going to go to my PDF, you have the movie poster over here, you have that. And then if I go back here, this is the QR for the training asset, but this is the step-by-step movie poster. And you can see it doesn't have, and the last one here is basically bringing in AI images. And you can see I have 3 of them, or 1 of them, or depending how do you work. Does that make sense? Any questions? Wonderful. So play with it, see how it works for you. And if you have any questions, you can see that I have in my movie poster over here, I have my information, and then you can come back and ask question. So you can see here's my information. You can always go back and ask the question and do that. Does that make sense? Are you good? Were you creating something? Okay, great. So now you have new skills to bring to your toolbox. And then anytime you're going to have a job, and feel free to join us for the certification classes in the spring. I highly recommend to start maybe with Photoshop, then move to Illustrator, then do InDesign. And then if you really feel inspired, you can do the video application.
So this is like include all the apps, like include Photoshop, Illustrator, all of this.
All of the apps, yeah. Okay, so join us. We're gonna have a new poster soon for the next semester because we are already in week 5. But in I think it's in the spring. It starts in the middle of January. And check it out, okay? And then come join us for other seminars in the future. I'm gonna post the recording, and thank you for coming. Great. Thank you.